Hey guys, this is Sandeep, you're watching RevAtlas and this is our review of the Mi 10T Pro. Before we get this started, please do make sure to hit the subscribe button and also turn on notifications for more videos like this. Now let's begin the video. Let us jump right in and talk about the design. The Mi 10T Pro features a curved back and flat front. To me, I still feel that this isn't as well designed as the Mi 10, which flowed beautifully from one side to the other, and as annoying as certain curved screen smartphones can be due to accidental touches and lack of a proper grip, the Mi 10 was not one of them and had great experience overall. The Mi 10T Pro is therefore slightly behind in terms of the premiumness on offer, although it too is solid, built very well and made of premium glass and metal. It is available in a silver and black variant, both of which look great and shiny but are extremely prone to fingerprints, and hence you would be busy trying to keep the marks of this phone unless you use a case. It also feels noticeably larger than the Mi 10 due to the lack of a curved front that we mentioned earlier, but it doesn't really feel unwieldy. The display remains the same size physically speaking at 6.67 inches, but there are a lot of changes under the hood. For starters, it is no longer an AMOLED panel but rather an IPS panel, and a very good one at that. While it can't match the blacks and contrast of an AMOLED panel, to the untrained eye, in regular lighting conditions this could very well pass off for being an AMOLED panel, and the blacks are pretty deep for an IPS panel. The upside of this change in technology is the fact that you get a 144Hz panel, which is definitely better for gaming compared to a 90Hz panel that you got on the Mi 10, and the same applies to the flat screen, which feels larger and gives more estate for gamers to control. The panel gets plenty bright and sharpness is on point, and the colors are accurate as well, and it is protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 5, and the display cutout on the upper left corner is one of the smallest that we have seen and easily blends into the background when watching videos. In fact, there's a lot to talk about this panel, but I would just reference the article by Tushar, my XDA colleague, which explains how good the display on this phone actually is. I shall link it in the description and via a pinned comment as well. In terms of performance, not much has changed. And that's a good thing since you still get a Snapdragon 865 under the hood along with 8GB of RAM, and while the storage has been upgraded to a UFS 3.1, for most apps and use cases this does not create a huge difference unless you compare it side by side to the older Mi 10, and even then you really need to be knowing where to look and need to be a power user. The Mi 10T Pro handled whatever we threw at it with ease, be it gaming or multitasking, and I didn't face any hiccups even when using it at 144Hz. There's just one variant available, and that is a problem in this case, as there's just 128GB of memory, which for some power users, that is the target audience for such a phone, that much space isn't enough, and this doesn't have expandable storage. Hopefully Xiaomi brings a 256GB variant in the future like the Mi 10, and the phone comes with Android 10 with MIUI 12 on top, and the changes are all good and useful apart from the splitting of notification bar into two sides like the iPhone. On an Android phone, I'm so used to having swiping from any side to get the notifications, especially because I'm a right-hander and I generally swipe from the upper right portion, but in the case of the 10T Pro, you get the control center, which does take a while to get used to. In terms of security, you get a face unlock feature with the front-facing camera as well as a fingerprint scanner that's mounted onto its side. While the registration process of your fingerprint is actually pretty slow, that does not matter because at the end you get a pretty fast and accurate sensor with a high success rate as well. The Mi 10T Pro comes with a stereo speaker setup where there is a bottom firing loudspeaker, and the earpiece also doubles up as the secondary channel. It gets fairly loud but isn't at the top of any volume charts, but what's good is the overall quality, which is similar to the Mi 10 but also a bit louder. The earpiece is a tad bit lower in terms of the output compared to the bottom speaker. The camera setup is mostly the same as the Mi 10 in terms of hardware, software and output, and that is a good thing. You get a 108MP ISO cell HMX sensor with f1.7 aperture, an ultra-wide angle 13MP camera, but instead of the two 2MP cameras, you get a single 5MP upgraded macro camera. The front camera also remains the same 20MP unit, and here are some samples. I'll give you a sneak peek on what to expect, but stay tuned to our detailed camera review for the full analysis. Coming to the battery and charging situation, out goes the wireless charging and in comes the faster 33W charging capability. I mentioned capability as the Mi 10 had the same charger in the box, but the phone itself did not support the full 33W input, and a full charge takes around an hour and 10 minutes give or take depending on various factors, and that is pretty fast for 5000 mAh battery. Adaptive sync works in various refresh rate modes, and we'll give the full list on screen, and this is one of the reasons for the high battery life that this device is able to deliver, which is north of 7 hours of screen on time. The Mi 10T Pro is definitely one of the best phones in the segment, and one that I'm sure people will be happy with using, particularly if you want high-end smartphone for gaming without the over-the-top gaming aesthetics. That brings us to a question of whether one should go for the Mi 10 or the 10T Pro, and let me put it this way. I do understand that the pricing for the Mi 10 is higher, but at times they both are of the same price or similar, and when that happens, the choice can be simplified to the Mi 10T Pro being the choice for gamers and the 10 for everyone else. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, do let us know in the comment section below. See you again in the next one, and please don't forget to hit the subscribe button.